Good morning. We are continuing in Romans 5 as we think about love and suffering, and we pick up in verse 2 again because we need to see in both verse 2 and 3 the repetition of a particular term that gives us a particular perspective as we approach suffering. And it, in a way, creates the aroma, the air we breathe as we suffer. Through him, we have also obtained access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in hope of the glory of God. Now, we talked about hope last time as the third fruit of justification. Romans 5, verse 3. Not only that, but we rejoice, there it is again, in our sufferings. Now, I want to pause there. I want to think about that with you. We rejoice. The key is in the little preposition. We rejoice in our sufferings. I'm tempted to rejoice despite my sufferings. I'm tempted to rejoice opposed to or over against my sufferings. It's quite a different thing. That sufferings would become a catalyst for joy. Now, the only way suffering can become a catalyst for joy is if two things hold. One is you clearly recognize that you're not made for this world, so you can see the temporality of suffering. Secondly, you can recognize that suffering has its own, to be a little philosophical, its own teleology, its own design. It has its own end. That is, that it's serving a greater purpose. Those two ideas lend something to suffering so that I can conceptually rejoice in suffering. Now, is this too great an ask? Consider Hebrews 12, 2 and 3. Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy, this is the reason, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising its shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. So you get this picture, right, of Jesus who, with joy and for the joy of what his act of suffering would end up producing, engaged in it. He endured the cross. Verse 3, the next verse, Hebrews 12, 3, consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted. Think about him. Think about him. When you come upon suffering, the author of Hebrews says, I want you to think about Jesus and how he suffered. And I want you to realize that he did it in joy, for joy. Therefore, it's not a kind of ask that the pioneer of your salvation, Jesus, did not go through himself. So, I want to encourage you to recognize both the temporality and the larger intent of suffering, and let them be fuel so that you could rejoice in suffering that you're going through, even now. May the Lord encourage you today.